Pets are something that many people can relate to, and they are meant to bring happiness and comfort to a family. From dogs to cats all the way to birds, the animals kept as pets have a wide variation. But the one in the following video was a cat. Paul and McKinley had recently spent a few $100s on food and toys for their brand new rescued cat, who they took pride in wanting to take care of. However, for some odd reason, the cat disliked all of its toys, and so Paul thought he would try to entertain it with something as simple as a ribbon. What was the worst that could happen? A simple rejection of the toy? No, something much worse.
Oh, love him, Ben.
Look at him, man. But give him his toys that we spent 30 quid on at the start. He won't play with them like this. He's not interested. Give him a ribbon that we found bloody lying about. He loves it.
Was that a ball?
I think it was.
Somehow, a ball behind Paul rolled away from the duo playing together, and this forced Paul to come to a complete halt. Fortunately, he managed to catch the phenomenon on camera, or nobody would have believed him, so he showed his relatives and posted it to social media for all to see. To his dismay, they still deemed him stupid and explained that he probably generated a whoosh of air to push the ball when swinging the ribbon around. I am pretty sure a ribbon cannot generate enough wind to move an object, though. Who posts consistently to try and obtain his dream of being a full-time content creator. His main subject on the TikTok is horror-related videos, giving his audience information on spooky things that occur across the world. However, little did any of his fan base know that one of his videos was going to be a first-hand experience of the male behind the account. Here it is.
I'm making a video right now because I just heard something fucking loud as fuck in the bathroom. Sounded like something fell. Oh shit. That was up there. What the fuck? Dick. Oh shit!
After kicking back and watching some television, he heard an item drop in the bathroom, but had a suspicious feeling about it, so decided to investigate with his camera rather than without. Thank the Lord that he had this feeling though, because it was correct, and a shampoo bottle dropped in front of his very eyes. Considering he knew a lot about spooky and some paranormal information, you would have expected him to at least identify the cause of the event. Unfortunately though, this was not the case, and no one knows what caused it to this day. On October 26th of 2024, Franco Claret was in his living room enjoying his day off work when one of the weirdest 30 seconds of life came out of nowhere. The time was roughly 2 a.m. in the morning, but being hooked to the show he was watching, Franco could not help but continue binging it, and he actually had no idea of the time until after the incident happened. He explained after the clip went mainstream that he would never stay up so late with his own company again, and he still sits in fear when in that room to this very day. If you think he was exaggerating, then pay close attention to the upcoming footage, because it was pretty horrifying to say the least. From the curtains drifting and the door opening all the way to the object falling at the end, it was very apparent that something unordinary was happening. Franco called his girlfriend after the incident and she didn't believe him one bit. He somehow got sleep that night and never encountered anything similar again. Family gatherings are supposed to be a time for communication and love, but the one in the video that I am about to show you turned out to be far from that, at least towards the end. For the first 2 hours or so, nothing went wrong whatsoever, and everybody was having a fabulous time after not seeing each other in so long. Little did anyone know that there was an unexpected guest in the room with them.
Ya estamos aquí en la merienda. Tamalito con chocolate, queso, pan y mantecadita. Buen provecho para todos. Marta siente... Ah, no. Ah, usted le va a tomar la foto a los...
At the bottom of the screen, a child seemingly sprinted across the camera at a pace which would have been very hard for a young person to achieve. Furthermore, considering there was a table in the room, and the woman filming was also in the way, it was highly unlikely that this was a real person running across the frame, leading to just one final conclusion. There was a spirit. The following video involved a security officer and a care home, and things got extremely spooky towards the end, so make sure to stick around. The time was 11 p.m, and the old folk had all just been put to bed by their carers. It was at this time that they sent out the security team to make sure everything was running smoothly, because it would not be fair to release them with the elderly still in the home, as the operation frightened most of them, despite it just being a simple checkup. At least it was usually a simple checkup, because this one was far from that. Take a look.
I am tripping balls. I'm trying to see if I can get it to do it again. Fucking God. Oh my fucking God.
It was actually quite hard to hear this, but towards the end of the clip, some sort of person whispered here into the camera, and it was obviously a different voice than the man who was filming. A leading theory for the incident was that one of the old folks who must have passed away in the home decided that they were going to overdo their stay as a resident and have some fun with the security who terrified them for years. Moving into a new house is scary, especially when you are relocating to an entirely different country. This was the case for the person who recorded the next clip in this video, and it was very spooky. Abad struggled to learn the English language, and this was the country he decided to migrate to, but he had no idea that this would be the least of his concerns. Due to financial troubles, he was forced to purchase a low-quality £20,000 house in the north, and it had little to no background checks. Since it was the only affordable property after the British inflation crisis, Abad took what he could though. He just got unfortunate with his unknown roommate.
Otra vez está mamando con la puerta del puto mueble. Me despierto porque escuché como que algo pegaba. Ni siquiera hay puto aire, no se mueve la cortina. Chequen cómo no cabe nadie ahí.
Things like this had happened every night for the 4 days he was in this house so far, and it was a horrible situation to be in. He knew nobody, couldn't speak the native language, and had no money to relocate elsewhere. This was a sticky situation, and the sad reality is that he just had to deal with it. In a previous video on this channel, we dived into the life of Alex, who had some paranormal troubles to say the least. In this video, she heard some strange and unexplainable noises coming from inside her ventilation system, and this time around, she decided to give it a check. At first, there was nothing in there, and Alex was rather surprised to have not discovered a rat infestation. However, what she did find was arguably just as spooky. 2 bones lay on the floor, and below them, an anniversary card. This is the moment that the reality of the situation finally clicked in the head of Alex. Her husband had unfortunately passed away roughly a month before this event happened, leading her to believe that he was the one who caused this. After all, the anniversary card lined up perfectly with how long they had been married for. She went to bed in peace, fully aware that her husband didn't have the heart to cause her any disruption, even if the most evil of entities attempted to convince him otherwise. Well, she was wrong. For the entirety of the night, all Alex could hear was banging, and she was even jump scared by her cat simply running down the stairs. If this was her husband, he was definitely a changed man, and Alex was starting to consider alternative routes. She is currently looking for an exorcist, and if this story continues, it will be featured in future Haunter videos. During the peak of winter, Charlotte was checking her basement after hearing persistent noises that were disturbing everyone in the house from getting any work done, any sleep, and doing general day-to-day activities without being set off course. Like the woman in the last clip, Alex, she assumed she would find some form of rodent infestation and was really frustrated due to how much money pest control was charging at that point in time. However, she should count herself lucky because what she found was not anything to do with pests at all. Unlucky actually, because it was much worse.
To that bathroom. And that goes.
After analyzing the footage several times, Charlotte confirmed that there was absolutely no chance that the person could have escaped, and the figure didn't belong to anyone who was supposed to be there. Have a go at solving this mystery in the comments, because nobody present could, and nobody viewing can either. In the following video, Ashraf, a young adult, had lost a bet with his friend group, and his punishment was to enter an abandoned hospital for 20 minutes and film it as proof. If he failed his mission, then he would have to pay his entire friend group $100 each, which would have totaled up to nearly $1,000, money that he couldn't afford to lose. Upon entering the hospital, there was nothing in there, and he surprisingly felt a sense of warmth and comfort. It took just 10 minutes for this sense to be completely erased, though, and replaced with something horrible.
Escuchen, no manchen. Hoy. A lo mejor es el aire, amigos. A lo mejor es el aire. A lo mejor es el aire el que está dando el abanico. Y él se regresó por el otro lado. No, mire que es, amigos, fue mi imaginación. O se regresó por el otro lado, amigos. Ve cómo se desenfoca. ¿Alguien está aquí? ¿Alguien está aquí? Escucho que camina alguien. Escucho que camina alguien. Se quedó parado. Se quedó parado.
Somehow, the ceiling fan started to rotate on its own accord, except not the way it was meant to. Ceiling fans are meant to spin rapidly to generate cold air and waft it into humans. However, this one was moving eerily slowly, almost like something was pushing it, rather than an electric current doing the trick. Dolls are some of the creepiest children's toys known to man, and it's obvious why this agenda has been pushed to us all. Many horror films that include paranormal activity showcase dolls in their most creepy forms, possession, and sometimes these evil phenomenons are captured outside of Hollywood. In the following video, a trio were in the garden looking into their collection of dolls as they were certain that there was an eerie feeling surrounding them all. Just before they started recording, the doll in pink moved its arm, but that was nothing compared to its next trick.
Interesting. I really don't know what to make of these dolls. I know that they all are haunted dolls. I'm pretty much 100% sure now that they are all haunted for sure. I mean, we already know that the big one is because we've seen her move in my office. All you fans out there have seen her do something. I'm not taking her with me when I move, so if any of you are interested in that doll, please let me know, because I don't want to keep her, but I'd like her to go to a good home. I mean, if there's somebody out there that's interested, I don't... Did that fucking thing just move?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
Her freaking face just moved towards you.
Oh my god, Heather.
Like that legitly just moved.
Oh
Did you
my
see
god.
that?
Yeah,
Clay, did you see that shit?
When you said you're not taking her with you.
Oh my god.
What was that?
I don't know, I just heard
I just
that.
heard a girl's voice.
Are you serious? That wasn't one of you?
No.
Oh my god. Oh my god,
my
she
God.
really just move?
Her face.
Oh hell no.
What the hell, Mom?
Oh my god. Heather, I got the cold chills from the top of my head to
Yeah,
my
I have-
freaking toe. Oh my god.
What the hell?
Oh my god, I cannot believe this shit.
I know, this is just insane.
This is freaking crazy, Heather.
You guys
She
will
actually
see that dog
moved.
move, and then this wind chime behind us just went crazy. Like, I don't know what to think of this. And then this doll here definitely
Wow.
moved.
I'm like blown away here. I am so blown away. The fuck is that? What is that?
The wind.
Two huge things happened in this recording that could not be ignored. First of all, whilst the eldest of the three was discussing passing the doll onto a new owner who was interested in haunted memorabilia, it tilted its head perfectly in her direction, perhaps indicating resentment towards the idea of having a new home. After this, the spirit presence started to ring the bells in the back garden, forcing them all to turn around in fear. Whatever was haunting them didn't only have control of the dolls, it had control of everything around them. The family did end up moving house in the end, and passed the doll onto a collector of creepy items. He loved it to pieces, and kept it in a clear box to observe its movements, etc. At least some fun was found out of it. In the video you're about to watch, a group of people who call themselves the Memorable Supernatural INC were investigating a building which had been home to several reports of supernatural activity over the past month. So much had gone on there that it was mandatory for someone to come and see what the problem was, hence why the group were called down to take a look. They were chosen due to their huge reliability and cheap rates, making them a perfect fit for a mid-range investigation like this. Despite being labeled a mid-level search though, the events that unfolded took it way above this status. Take a look.
Ô, Lúcio, quer me matar do susto, velho? Rapaz do céu, mano. Eu vi o Lu, porque eu tô aqui, pessoal. Essa claridade pega no meu, eu não consigo ver. Igual da outra vez, ó. A luz pega, eu não consigo ver, pessoal. Não adianta o negócio aqui, fica no olho, ó. Eu não consigo ver. Rapaz do céu, moço. Rapaz, você é louco, moço. Pessoal, vou ser sincero pra vocês, cara. O coração quase voou na boca agora, mano. Você é louco? Olha, minha nossa. Olha isso. Cara do céu. Olha isso. Olha isso. Olha isso, cara. Impressionante. Isso aqui abriu, cara. Abriu aqui, ó. Rapaz. Você é louco? Ô, Lúcio, você vai fazer o seguinte, você vai tirar essa camiseta, pera aí, não tira não. Você vai pôr outra camiseta aqui, ó. Toma essa aqui, você vai pôr essa aqui mesmo. Pega essa aí, você vai tirar, não, tira aí não. Eu não posso filmar, senão vai me dar problema aqui no YouTube. Você vai tirar essa camiseta, você põe essa outra. Pelo que tá acontecendo aqui, entendeu? Pode ser que seja algo na roupa, mas você vai tirar essa camiseta, você põe essa...
Somehow, the cabinet shot open without any human interaction, and even closed itself, meaning that something or someone must have done it. The only problem was that nothing was in sight. After experiencing this, the man looked inside the cabinet to investigate what he could find, but nothing was on the other side. Not even the wind can make things move like that. He quickly ended that specific tape and sent it over to his boss, who was compiling a file for the people paying them to do this job. This evidence would be minor compared to the other things they would capture though. Later on in the day, the group decided to have a little rest, as they had been searching for the entire day when a disturbance decided to disrupt them. It was very weird and looked extremely unnatural. Even the experts back in their company couldn't explain what kind of spirit caused it.
Você vai tirar a camiseta aí, ok, Lúcio? Isso, vai com jeito, tira a camiseta. É isso, Lúcio. Tá dando certo aí? Então tá. Não posso filmar você tirando, tá certo. É isso. Bom, vamos estar com outra camiseta agora, pessoal. Opa! Cadê a camiseta, Lúcio? Cadê a camiseta, velho? Cadê a camiseta? Aonde? Aonde? Aonde, moço? Aonde, velho? Rapaz, caça aí, cadê a camiseta? Moço, onde foi parar?
Isso eu tinha posto aqui a camiseta, eu troquei por ele aqui. Pode ver ali, ó. Não tá ali. Ai, meu Deus do céu.
Minha nossa, dá uma olhada aí atrás.
Aí.
Olha isso, pessoal. Cara do céu, velho. Arrasta o sofá. Arrasta esse sofá. Arrasta.
Shockingly, the carpet slung itself off from the sofa onto the floor, and the duo in the room were taken very aback from this. They called for the other 3 people upstairs to come and see if they could detect something, but by the time they arrived on scene, all evidence of a sighting was gone. Now the group had more than enough evidence of paranormal activity, and they decided to give one big attempt to get rid of whatever was haunting the property. Their contract with the house owner stated that if they were able to get rid of the spirit, then they would be paid an additional $300, a bonus that no man could possibly turn down. They set up their equipment in the kitchen and gave one big attempt. It's up to you to decide how that went in the comments.
Tem jeito que eu levanto o braço aqui, mas eu tava olhando pra ela. Não queria perder um momento aqui. Você sentiu algo aqui agora? Quem é que está aqui neste lugar? O que você sentiu, Lúcio?
Calafrio, parece que tinha algo perto atrás de mim.
O que é isso? O que é que você tá sentindo?
Calafrio, uma coisa esquisita, parece que tem algo.
Tá tremendo a mão, Lúcio? Olha o jeito da vela, cara. É torta ou não é, pessoal? Hã? Meu nome é Ulisses Deadline. E eu sei que minha presença desloca espíritos obscuros de lugares e cantos como esse. Quem é que está aqui? Opa, que é isso? Que é isso?
Ai, meu Deus do céu.
Rapaz! Minha nossa, vocês viram o jeito que mexeu isso aqui, cara? Cara, é impressionante. Minha nossa. Você é louco? Lúcio, calma, Lúcio. Calma. Eu vou estar fazendo uma limpeza aqui no local. Cara, eu tô inteiro arrepiado, cara. É impressionante ou não é? É impressionante ou não é? Olha isso. Olha isso. Rapaz. Deixa eu ficar com isso aqui, ó. Eu vou estar fazendo uma limpeza aqui neste local. Nós vamos estar fazendo uma limpeza aqui nesse local, Lúcio. Cara, é impressionante ou não é? Você é louco pra mim, deu.
In the middle of their ritual to communicate with the ghost and identify its reason for being present, the chairs started moving, and this wasn't a good sign. While you are communicating with a ghost, it's a bad sign if it begins to move objects without being prompted to do so. This was happening here and closed their report for the day. The group decided that $300 wasn't enough to deal with a ghost of this manner. Their negotiations failed, and the owner looked for someone else to do the trick. This man was home alone when suddenly the lights started to flicker all around him. He had no idea what to do, so he instinctively reached for his phone to record what was going to happen next. If he didn't, then there was no doubt he would be called crazy by anyone he dared to share the story with. He explained after the incident that it was the spookiest moment of his life and he wouldn't get paid to live it again. Let me know if you think he was exaggerating in the comments. I certainly don't.
Amigo, o estoy loco o se está moviendo la mesa del comedor sola. Mira. O sea, ¿ves? ¿Ves que se está moviendo eso? Y la mesa recién se estaba moviendo ahí, boludo. Mirá, 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 boludo. ¿Qué mierda? What the fuck?
The table moved very aggressively in a way which could have quite easily harmed the man behind the camera. He claimed that a feeling of cold wept over him as the table moved and his hairs stood up on his arms, both common signs that a spirit was having some good fun. The next day, the same man was on his sofa in the living room watching television, and all of a sudden the air purifier unplugged itself. Following the same sequence as the day before, he took out his camera and started filming to see what evidence he could gather. and to his dismay, it wasn't good.
Amigo, ¿te acordás que te dije que tengo un espíritu en mi casa, chabón? Mirá la silla. ¿Ves, boludo? ¡Ay, qué impresión, amigo!
The chair moved right in front of his eyes, which proved to everyone he wanted to share the event with that nothing he said was fake. Whatever this ghost was, it was safe for the man to say that it wasn't a shy one. Alex, an adult fairly new into the adult world, had recently inherited his grandma's house, and he was pleased that she decided to pass it on to him. He had been really struggling financially since finishing college and never managed to get into university, so an inherited place to stay was the most helpful thing in the world. Although pleased with his property though, he was of course upset about his grandma's passing and cried quite frequently about it. They were very attached when he was younger. He was going to miss her, but little did he know that she was right next to him.
Okay, I am up here where all the different, scary activity has happened, and I'm hearing what sounds like somebody walk around on the floorboards. As I'm up here, I can feel, the pressure of steps landing around me. I don't really know what's going on. It just seems pretty fucking crazy to me. I don't know. This is not what I signed up for when I got this house.
Whilst walking around upstairs, the perfect silhouette of his grandma was standing in the doorway, and after slowing it down, Alex was even more certain that he knew what he was looking at. Upon alarming the rest of his family though, they explained that he was in a time of grief, and what he captured was probably just a reflection or a shadow, essentially deeming him to be crazy. Do you agree? Give your thoughts down below and subscribe whilst you're down there. Storage buildings are some of the most eerie places someone can visit. Take that from someone who used to visit them every other day. These places are literal corridors that stretch very far and usually have nobody else on them, making it feel empty. It's the closest thing humanity has to the back rooms, and that's saying something. In the upcoming clip, Wayne and Manuel, two owners of a business, were next to their storage unit, adding some new stock to it that they had just received. Little did they know, though, that someone else was in there, and they couldn't even see who.
Se escucha adentro.
Randomly, the sound of a child crying and screaming echoed around the storage place, and this was creepy for many reasons. Either a real child was in pain and needed help, or a paranormal spirit was messing with them. The latter was the more likely option. Over the past week, Juan had been hearing the same noises at night, and he was sure to alert his business partner that this was the case. Hurriedly, they closed their storage unit and locked it before hurrying out of the building. On their way out, they questioned the receptionist on whether or not they heard the noise, and the answer they got was shocking. The woman had not heard a peep. Home they went. Once they arrived home, Juan decided to do some paperwork in his office and closed the door to make sure no disturbances took him out of his working state of mind. However, something was already in there with him, and it did exactly what he wanted to avoid. Out of the blue, tons of items started falling off shelves, and no, there was not a magnitude 10 earthquake going on. In fact, there wasn't an earthquake at all. The duo still deal with the so-called storage spirit to this day and have no idea how to get rid of it. Feel free to help them in the comments in case they see this. On October the 25th of 2023, nearing 10 p.m., a family were all settling down before getting ready for bedtime. The mother was laying down in the living room after a long day of work while the kids were all talking to each other at the table, full of energy, as always. The night was one of the most normal ones the family had ever had. Barely any arguments and a couple of tired parents, however, things were going to get weird much quicker than expected. Randomly, some demonic noises started to be heard, and the mother of the family asked the children what they were doing. She was used to them messing around and causing chaos, so of course they were the first people she pinned blame onto. However, they denied everything. Too tired to argue, the woman rolled back into rest, but this is when the entire sofa moved out of the blue. Stuff like that does not happen naturally. There must have been a ghost present. In the following video, a young and innocent girl was showing off her doll's cutlery when it suddenly decided to show its gratitude. She owned the doll for over 6 years, and her parents insisted on purchasing some new cosmetics every month if she was good. She had just received some at the time of this recording. It was approximately 3 p.m. when she decided to show the new cutlery set, and things got creepy fast.
Chilla. Ahora tengo dos tenedores así, uno rosita, igual que el cuchillo que mostré al principio, no sé si lo mostré al principio, y este tenedor amarillo. Pues tener, se me está cayendo todo, perdón, se me está cayendo todo. Dos cuchillos amarillos iguales, tenemos otro cuchillo amarillo, pero más como amarillo flúor. Una cuchara, un rosquete para aplanar masa, una cucharita y un tenedor. Bueno, ya. Después, las tacitas. Tengo esta tacita rosita y esta tacita como fucsia. Huevo y
Strangely, the doll moved, and at first the girl didn't notice what had happened. Confused, she turned back to the camera and continued to show off her new collection, but the doll definitely wanted some recognition for its acts. It moved again, this time right in front of the poor girl's eyes, and she instinctively ran to her mother. We haven't been updated since, but what we do know is that she hasn't uploaded any doll videos. Edward, a strong believer in the paranormal world, had been experiencing paranormal activities for the past few months. Eventually, he had enough of the repetitive disruptions and decided to keep track of them through using a YouTube channel. Here he would upload his documentations, whether that be first-hand phone footage or stuff from the security, and gather a binder of evidence for his local church, of which he wished to inform of the incidents. Here is one of the pieces of footage his cameras managed to capture.
Sunday the 19th of July.
Strangely, this ghost was extremely energetic and did things at an extraordinarily fast rate. It threw all sorts of items to the ground, including cutlery, which is dangerous considering Edward had a dog which would know no better than to stand on a fork or something silly like that. Edward brought this video to his local church in hopes that they would bless the household of any evil entities, and they happily did so. It is unknown whether or not this was a success or not. In the following video, an electric company came to visit a house that was being sold to new owners. They were paid to check up and fix any issues with the electricity, and their pay would fluctuate based on how many problems they actually ended up finding. During their stay, they discovered 4 electrical issues and got them fixed for the current owner. But there was one problem that could not be changed, no matter who was hired to make an impact. There was a paranormal entity present. For some strange reason, the ladder continued to move on its own accord and creeped away from the location that it was initially set in. This, for more than obvious reasons, freaked out the electrician in the room, who went on to show his clients the footage, and then the boss reported it to the owner. They negotiated a $50 pay rise for the inconvenience and finished the tasks on the day. The house was eventually sold to a new family, but little did they know what they were in store for. Children's toys are some of the most wholesome objects on the planet, designed to make little ones smile. They come in all sorts of forms, from dolls to cars, all the way to smaller instrument variations, so it's safe to say that there is a toy for every child imaginable. However, there is one instance that these toys become some of the most demented and uncomfortable things known to man, and the upcoming video is an example of this. Out of nowhere, once the man entered the room, the toy car jolted to the side, which made no sense considering it was not designed to move. Even if it was, he revealed that it had no batteries inside it, which also made the voice it made impossible. The toy was doing far too much that it shouldn't have been able to, so the father immediately pinned down the cause to being a paranormal entity. Was he correct? I guess we'll never know. But what we do know is that the toy truck is long gone. In a recent video on this channel, we explored the household of Letitia, a young French woman who had been experiencing a surge of paranormal activity out of nowhere. This paranormal activity led her to discover a key which opened up the basement of which the previous owner stated they lost the keys for it. Regardless of whether they lied or genuinely thought that the keys were missing, Letitia ventured into the basement to see what was up with it, and it had a very odd feeling to it. It actually used to be an air raid shelter during the Second World War, and an unfortunate amount of people passed away in there. This perfectly explained the weird aura to it. After exploring, Letitia vowed to never enter the basement again and relocked it. She did keep the keys though, but there was one thing she didn't choose to keep, her vow.
C'est bon, je vais enlever l'échelle pour plus qu'il y ait des gens qui rentrent chez moi. Oh là là, ça fait trop peur. C'est par ici qu'ils doivent rentrer. J'ai des squatteurs chez moi, genre les squatteurs qui rentrent par ici. Ah, c'est bon. Donc maintenant les squatteurs ils vont plus jamais rentrer. J'espère que c'est fini cette histoire, genre. Donc je ferme et je récupère la clé. Je reviendrai plus jamais ici. Normalement il n'y aura plus de squatteurs. Parce que là, je crois que j'ai jamais vécu ça de ma vie. C'est vrai. La maison date de 1970. Franchement, c'est grave. J'ai trop envie de rentrer chez moi. Je fais que des cauchemars depuis que je suis ici. Regardez la tête des tableaux. Regardez à quel point ça fait flipper. J'ai remarqué il n'y a pas longtemps qu'il y a une empreinte ici. Là, on la voit bien. On la voit bien, regardez. Regardez.
Just 3 days after making her vow to never visit the basement again, she was down there, and this time she gave a more thorough search. In case you didn't watch the last video with Letitia featured, the first time she tried to enter, some kind of force pushed the door shut against her, so she was confident that someone was down there. Despite this confidence though, this search did nothing, and she walked back inside, confused with her confusion only being amplified from that point. Weirdly, some music started to play from the radio, and this made zero sense, because Letitia lived home alone. Unless her house had been burgled, it must have been a ghost that activated it. No one was in there. She had clearly released the spirits from the basement into the houser, and this scenario wasn't the only time that this became evident. On September 10th, 24 hours after the music played, Letitia was fixing something when some clutter could be heard from the kitchen. You know she had to go and investigate it, so she did, but what she came across was far from anything she could have ever dreamt of.
Je vais m'enfermer dans ma chambre. Oh la vache. De toute façon, tout ça c'est fini. En septembre, je rentre enfin chez moi. Je vous jure. Il y a la spatule qui est tombée par terre, genre. On est où ?
Immediately after hearing the bang, she went into the kitchen and found that her spatula had somehow collapsed onto the floor. As well as this, many other objects chose to move in front of her very eyes, leaving her kitchen a mess. When an item fell from the cupboard, Letitia was sent running back to her bedroom in fear before locking the door closed. If the other events weren't enough to convince Letitia her house was haunted, this one definitely did, and she decided that it was time to take action on the spirits. She watched some YouTube tutorials on how to combat certain ghost types, and one came up for war ghosts, which she assumed these ones were. She listened to what it had to say.
Je suis retournée dans la maison hantée et on va essayer d'enlever les esprits qu'il y a dedans. Donc j'ai pris de la sauge, du sel. J'ai entendu du bruit. On va faire brûler la sauge, les gars, on va faire brûler la sauge. C'est bon. Les gars. Mon cœur, il bat à 3000. Écoutez mon cœur. Les gars, vous entendez mon cœur?
A shadow figure could be seen if you paid close attention to the glimpse of light by the door. It appeared to peek around the doorway at Letitia before slowly easing away once she turned in its direction. Fortunately, she missed out. This was the last video on the topic uploaded by the woman, although she did make a vow to continue updating us. If we've learned one thing about her from this story though, she doesn't keep vows, and it doesn't usually leave her in a good place. Marcus was searching an old sports stadium when he heard some repetitive banging coming from the changing rooms. The stadium was supposed to have nobody else present since it was no longer being used, but Marcus and his group really started to question this fact when this happened to them.
Bueno, ya son como las 11 de la noche y la tercera vez que estoy escuchando este ruido de mierda. No sé qué está pasando, pero lo quiero grabar ahora para que después me crea la gente, porque esto nunca me pasó y nada, lo quería grabar, qué sé yo, estoy podrido, la concha de la lora. Digo, mi linterna, no sé para qué enviar la tele. Dios. Puta que te parió. Puta que te parió. Concha de la lora. La concha de la lora. Pero como mierda puede ser que no haya nada. Ay. Ya es la tercera vez. Tercera vez que entro y no hay nada. Dios, me quiero ir. Me quiero ir.
Randomly, they started to hear banging noises coming from the ground floor, and staying cautious, they ventured into the unknown. They came across a wooden door, and to their confusion, it was opening and closing itself repetitively. This was something that none of them could explain. Instinctively, they walked into the room to find out what on earth was going on, and found nothing. Surprisingly, the stadium had no background lore which could point into the direction of paranormal activity. Such an event was completely out of the blue and still goes unexplained to this day. The piece of footage you are about to see was captured using a vehicle's dash cam and was very fortunate to have been caught. The incident lasted a singular second, so it was the definition of blink, and you miss it. Luckily for us, cameras don't blink. It was 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night, and a man who had just finished work was driving home. His drive home was the most eventless time of the day, but he enjoyed it for that very reason. The lack of cars on the roads meant that he could drive a lot faster than usual and get away with it, the true dream of every driver. However, despite the smooth roads, there was something present that nobody on scene would have expected. Take a look.
She can go meet up with him and see if she can get him to confess. And it's a tough decision, I'm sure, but Amy ultimately agrees. She wears the wire, she picks up Chuck, and she...
Early on in the clip, the faded figure of a human crossing the road could be seen, which was very clearly not a real person. If it was, then a car would have hit them. Which one didn't? This was very clearly a spirit having some late-night fun. Some of you are likely not convinced yet though, and I don't blame you. The amount of false sightings on this website are abundant, and you can't trust anything or anyone. Don't worry, this time we found some extra evidence.
So this is a follow-up video on my last TikTok, the one right before this, about the paranormal sighting that I seen. Just for people that are a little leery, thinking it was a person and not that it was some paranormal, some figure, some something. This just kind of adds into it that it probably is some type of paranormal thing. I had another driver reach out to me after I posted it on Facebook that he was going through there about 20 minutes before I did with another driver right behind him, and they seen the same thing as I did, but they just didn't catch it on camera. And today, at the same time as we went through there, there was a car accident, multiple cars. 2 people ended up dying. 2 people went to the hospital. Well, the 2 people that went to the hospital they gave a statement that they seen a white figure in the road, and that's why the one car swerved into the other car. And this was around the same exact time, but 1 day later than when I seen it and he seen it. And his brother's a state trooper and told him this. So I'm sure we'll be able to get these statements at some point in the future. But this just adds on to, this might be real. This might not be somebody just walking in the road, because they said they tried to pull the cameras from the interstate, and there was nobody walking in the road at that time. So you guys go ahead and pause and read that. Tell me this shit don't make sense. Tell me this don't make sense. If anybody knows anything else about this, it was on Illinois Highway 57 going northbound right after the 340, right in Markham, Illinois. Right after the 340 is where this happened. 2 days in a row. 2 days in a row. So y'all tell me if you know anything about any of this, or comment whatever you guys think about it, but it just keeps getting crazier and crazier.
The night after that incident, the faded spirit had another sighting, and this time around it caused an entire crash. I'm not going to reinstate what the man said since he already explained the situation, but what I will say is that you are crazy if that wasn't enough evidence for you to believe this scenario happened. Ali was watching some television in the living room when he discovered something absurd was taunting him. It was roughly 1 p.m. in the afternoon, the time of which you would least expect the paranormal to prosper. However, this wasn't the case for Ali.
Здравствуйте, это моя машина. Что хочу про нее рассказать? Опа, что там происходит? Бутылочка упала. Что это такое? Не понял. Что это там? Непонятно. Ого. Непонятно. Что там такое? Ого. Ай-яй-яй.
Seemingly out of the blue, Ali started to hear the noise of items dropping. which really confused him since nothing was visibly falling. It could have been his wife upstairs though, so he decided to pass it off as that and continue watching his show. Not the best decision of his life for sure. The banging carried on, except the location of them changed. What prior sounded like the bangs were above him was now occurring in the same room, and he decided to get up and investigate. It was at this moment that he witnessed a shirt moving by itself. Making things much worse, Ali called for his wife to ask what was happening, and he received no response. He later found out that she was doing some shopping to stock up the fridge. Someone or something was tormenting him that afternoon, and he still has no idea what it was, and he likely never will. While most spirits are discreet about their actions, others tend to be very out there, and that can definitely be said about the spirit in the next clip. Sufyan was working in a factory in the middle of the day, and this was deemed by him to be his most boring shift of the week. Barely anything went on during Tuesdays, and the shift consisted of sitting around and answering the odd phone call. However, the one-off incident in the following video was far from boring. I'm sure the employee would have still preferred the boring time though. Somehow, the ladder started walking off almost like a dog as its four legs moved in the motion that the domestic animals would do. This was very creepy, as it should have been impossible for a piece of equipment to move in such a manner. If there is one thing you have learned from this channel though, it is that when the paranormal gets involved, the impossible becomes more than possible. On October 13th of 2019, a couple were in the kitchen when one of the most absurd phenomena of their lives came to them. After the video, the woman explained that she no longer felt safe in the kitchen alone and always wanted her man in there with her, who surprisingly was not nearly as fazed. It was roughly 9 p.m. when the following footage was captured on their security camera. Take a look. The whisk managed to turn itself on without any human interaction, and this seemed very unlikely to have happened without a spirit. In order to activate the electric whisk, you would have to press down a button very hard because it was getting old and stiff. The couple could barely apply enough pressure to make it work, so it was almost impossible for something else to. Regardless of the odds though, the whisk prevailed and left the poor couple shivering. This wasn't enough to completely put them off the kitchen though, not that the next encounter wouldn't do the job. If the last encounter with the spirit was not believable enough for the couple, then this one most certainly was. Not only did the stove activate itself randomly, the saucepan also moved over it, indicating that the ghost wanted to get its chef hat on. The man did come back with a very humorous response though, and it put the spirit right back into its place. He placed some eggs next to the scene, prompting it to cook them for him, almost like a servant. If that isn't an expert way to handle such a stressful situation for most, then I don't know what is. Vacation is the best part of most people's years, and it's understandable why. Traveling the world to experience new cultures, sights, and cuisines is interesting, refreshing, and fun. However, there is one key risk with taking extensive breaks: robberies. Burglars are smart and target homes of which the residents are far away, so that if they take action, it becomes highly unlikely that someone can prevent them. In our next clip, it featured a middle-aged woman whose best friends across the road were flying out to Europe from the USA. They gave her the house keys and asked for the building to be checked up on every other day, and they would return the favor once the vice versa happened, the woman going abroad. They both expected nothing to happen, and this was simply a safety precaution just in case of an event. To their dismay, though, something did occur, but nothing they could have predicted.
No, no es normal eso. Ahí paró. Sí, porque no es que sube y baja así del...
Immediately after noticing that someone was in the house, the woman called 911 to report a potential robbery. The police were sent out to the building and gave it a thorough search. Nothing was missing, there was no sign of a break-in, and none of the lights ended up being turned on. The woman was fortunate to have captured a video, otherwise she would have been charged for a false report. After reviewing the footage, the police thought it must have been the shadows being casted, and the light was on because LEDs can quote-unquote glitch. I think we all know what really happened that night, though. In the following video, Eiji, a recent university graduate, was in his house about to take a shower. He had been through a long day at his part-time job and was more than ready to quit in 2 months' time before his huge gap year, where he was going to travel the entirety of Europe with his friends. This is besides the point, though. Eiji was tired, very tired, and all he needed was a relaxing shower to take everything off his mind. Regardless of this being a necessity, though, a certain spirit wasn't too chuffed with the idea. Randomly, AG heard laughter coming from all of the rooms around him, as well as several toiletry noises. From flushing toilets to dropping items, this spirit was not playing nice, and it had the man in complete confusion. In the end, he decided to pin it onto plumbing-related issues and called his local plumbing service to come and sort it out. He was a big believer in logical solutions and couldn't bring himself to see the possibility of it being a ghost. This would soon change, though. 2 days after the shower incident, AG was doing one of his main hobbies, playing the piano, when the same thing came to strike again. Have a watch.
Nggak masuk akal. Ini masih siang, masih jam 1:30.
Whilst playing, he suddenly heard a bang and went outside to investigate what it was. He was hoping that it was nothing to do with the infrastructure out there, as it needed some work doing. Fortunately for him, there was nothing there and no signs of any damage. However, all of his luck status vanished when he came back inside the house. First of all, the piano started playing on its own accord, and to make things even worse, a shirt slipped under the door in the most unnatural way possible. While all of these events officially made him terrified of the house, it wasn't enough to put him off of his piano hobby just yet though, and he went on to play for another day. Everything was okay during his next session, and nothing came of it whatsoever. However, he got too confident and started playing again after a break as small as 10 minutes. It was here that the spirit struck again. After hearing this evil kind of cackle, Eggy took a step back and really considered his life choices. Never in a million years would he have expected his piano of all things to be haunted, but he did not want to sell it. That piano was the one he used from day one. It was going to be the piece of equipment that traveled by his side from zero to hero, and he wasn't going to allow a silly ghost to ruin this. Angry, he went to his home gym to do some boxing practice. He usually practiced when mad because he could get the most out of his punches, but even this didn't act as a liable escape from the paranormal.
ada nyala, Cok. Nggak ada orang.
From the laughter to the piano, the exact same events were unfolding, and it began to seem inescapable for Eiji. This is when he decided to make the most impactful decision of his life, but not impactful in a good way. He listed his piano on eBay for a few $100s, and fortunately, it was sold and shipped very quickly. There was one thing that the buyer forgot to collect though, the spirit.
Ini jam berapa nih? 11. Stop. Jing belum ada nyala ya. Ya Allah.
Now at first, the woman looked exactly like Eigi's girlfriend, but on camera, she vanished out of thin air. The real question is whether or not the cause of this happened to be a camera glitch. Considering the efficiency of that thing though, it was a highly unlikely possibility. Haunted exploration is a hobby that many people enjoy, but others actually get paid for it. Yes, one of the world's many professions include documenting paranormal activity, and the person in the following video did this. It was late at night, and Wataru, a Japanese ghost hunter, decided he would spend the day exploring the old house of an ancient cult. The cult died off 5 years ago, but many said that their spirits still haunt the house to this day. Wataru was paid by a few people who were curious for answers. On his 15-minute adventure, he came across a few things, but surprisingly, not as much as the audience expected from him. Today we'll look at one of the most prominent, which definitely left him believing that despite the cult being dead, they still owned the property.
Hello. Assalamualaikum.
Hello. Welcome. Turn off the lights. Welcome.
Turn off the light.
Hello. Welcome. Hello. Welcome. I was a child. Hello. Welcome.
Okay. Whoa. If you're outside, come on in. Show us your...
Shortly after greeting whatever could possibly have been in the room, something fell from a shelf, and this was very unnatural, considering the ground did not shake in the slightest. Paired with this, Wataru explained that he could sense a weird aura in the room, and his hairs stood up on his neck, which was a very clear sign that something of paranormal essence was there. It's safe to say that the house still hosted the cult, and Wataru made some decent money from his findings. However, he was spooked and considered quitting the job forever. We don't know if he followed through with this decision. In the following video, a man was in his house alone when an unknown entity decided to reveal its presence. It was 2 a.m. and Abdul was enjoying his night without his wife. He ate a lot of the food from the fridge and watched some television, but then he remembered he needed to iron his clothes as he had work in the afternoon of the next day. He went upstairs and grabbed the board, but it was when he came back that something shocking took place. Somehow, the board continuously moved without any human interaction, and Abdul was left completely and utterly stunned. He spectated the movement for a solid 10 seconds before deciding it was best to leave the room and go straight to bed. His wife told him off for not completing the ironing, but Abdul explained that it was more than worth it. He has never encountered anything similar since. The man in the upcoming piece of footage was actually in a similar situation to the one in the last clip. Abdul. He was called Alex, and he was home alone one night. His wife was out clubbing for one of her best friend's birthdays, and this understandably left Alex feeling quite restless and uneasy. He decided he wasn't going to sleep until she was finished up, and asked her to call if she wanted a pickup. She said she would. It reached around 1 a.m. in the morning, and Alex told his girl that if she didn't send a text by that time, he would start to get very worried, and lived up to that. He started wandering the house with his phone, begging for a phone call, but just as he was about to dial her number, the weirdest night of his life began.
Is anybody here? Oh my god, man. What the fuck? No fucking shit. Hello? I heard you. No. No fucking way. No fucking way. Oh my god. Hello? And I swear I just saw a fucking shadow moving here. So what's this fucking light switch? Oh man, I'm absolutely fucking shitting myself. No. That can't be. Fuck off. Holy fucking shit. Nah, fuck this, oh no. Nah, fuck this, I'm out of here. Goodbye. Fuck this fucking...
First of all, the lights started flickering, but this could easily have been an electricity issue, so this wasn't any evidence of the paranormal. However, once Alex entered the kitchen, all hell broke loose. Literally. From cutlery flying to tables moving, Alex had no idea what on earth was going on and left the house immediately. He drove to the club to join his girl, and they stayed for another few hours before going back home. Nothing else happened when they arrived back. These security guards noticed a disturbance outside, so sent the head one, Haseb, to go and investigate. Hasib brought a walkie-talkie with him to make sure he could communicate with the others inside, who had cameras on every inch of the premises. This way, if any harm came his way, he could be notified in time to escape. He walked down the car park and looked around to see if he could find the black figure that they saw on the CCTV just moments ago. However, he didn't see anything. On the other hand though, the people on the cameras did.
Gerardo, fíjate detrás tuyo.
Perilla. Ma, usted está copiando el monitor, mae. Dígame algo. ¿Salió algo ahí?
Correcto. Aquí salió algo raro. Mae. Y véngase mejor.
Todo el día, mano, todo el día.
Strangely, a black figure seemingly riding a scooter could be seen behind Hasib, and the guards on the walkie-talkie quickly started shouting for him to turn around. With urgency, Hasib quickly turned to see what he was being asked to look at, but to his surprise, nothing was there. It had vanished. At first, he believed that the guards just played a trick on him, as it was a very banterful workplace. But once he came back inside, they showed him the footage. None of them can explain what happened to this day. Rachel was in her apartment on a Tuesday night when a boring day turned into an exciting one, but not the fun kind of exciting. She had experienced her first day of university lectures, and being honest with herself, she did not like it at all. Usually, when you are in a new class, it's a time to make new friends, and it turns out great. But unfortunately, she studied maths, and her class was full of antisocial people, not the best place for a good day. When she arrived back at her apartment, she kicked back and watched the new episode of her favorite show, but it didn't really go to plan because 15 minutes in, something crazy began.
Okay, hi. Sorry, I'm just watching something, but literally, hold on. There's no electricity in our place right now, okay? Turned it off, but I swear, shite. Okay, this door, Jesus, has been doing this literally all day. And look, that's shite. Oh my god. Okay, looking out. Hello? What the fuck? Hold on. I'm going out there. Hold on, there's no light. Oh, I turned the flash on because I couldn't see shite out there. I have my effing mace. It's on. Okay. I swear. Blood of Jesus. Jesus. Oh my gosh, Jesus. Okay, this door always moves because of the wind. I'm not really worried about that. Hello? It's just like mad dark if I don't. Oh shit. Jesus, hold on. No. Fuck that. No.
Repetitively, the door started to bang and it really annoyed Rachel. She stood up to go and see what it was, but to her dismay, there was no one once she opened the door. On top of this, whilst she was standing in the corridor, a strange noise echoed down which freaked her out enough to turn back into her living room. This was the day that she found out her room was haunted. In the following video, a caring mother of 2 was watching The Little Mermaid whilst waiting for her husband to come home with the children. They had all gone to McDonald's to bring home dinner, and she was eagerly awaiting her food as she was very hungry. However, just 7 minutes after the trio left the house, one of the worst sequences of events in the woman's life happened. She claimed afterwards that things got so spooky that she developed a new fear of being home alone, and after giving the clip a watch, you'll most certainly agree. As Ariel, the mermaid in the movie, started to sing while her voice was being stolen, items around the house started moving. The irony of this being paired with the evil movie scene made things much creepier for the mother, and she desperately tried to shut the television off, which for some reason didn't work at all. This carried on for 10 more minutes, until her family came back through the door and everything stopped. She showed them the video, and none of them could comprehend what happened that evening. In this spine-tingling video, captioned with things that happen at night in the office, a male employee was roaming around his workplace. It was very late, and he had only just finished catching up with what he missed out on during his holiday, so he was given the duty to lock up after himself. He was walking around making sure to close every door so that his boss didn't get angry the next morning when he caught something unexplainable. At first, his clients didn't believe what he saw, but fortunately, he captured video evidence and none of them knew what to do about it. Take a look.
¿Quién es?
Weirdly, the chair spun around by itself, and this called for the man to do a quick search of the area. For all he knew, someone else could have ran from under the desk, and there was a break, in which was the last thing he wanted. As odd as this may have been though, he found nothing. And neither did the cameras the next day. Similar to the last clip we looked at, this one involved a sole employee working late at night by themselves. In this specific recording, it was a factory worker who wasn't quite finished and was finalizing some box positionings to make it easy for the collectors in the morning. Despite making life easy for someone else though, something decided it was going to make his life hard, and nobody knows what to this day. Confused? Take a look and figure it out firsthand.
Lo único que tengo como apoyo pues es mi propia cámara para grabar, porque no hay nada que me pueda ayudar a demostrar que aquí hay algo, porque realmente sí lo hay. Sí lo hay. No quiero especular, pero es que cada vez esos golpes, esos sonidos... ¡Ay, cabrón! ¡Ay, no mames, no mames! ¡Ay, cabrón! ¡Ay, güey! Tranquilo, tranquilo, todo está bien. Todo está bien, todo está en orden. No hay nada. No hay nada, no hay nada.
For some strange reason, one of the items used to transport boxes started spinning around in circles, and once the man realized what was happening, he was utterly terrified. He immediately ran around the factory to see if there could be any logical cause for it, but in the back of his mind, he knew it was a ghost. He was highly religious and believed in that kind of stuff, so it did make sense for him to succumb to it much quicker. It is safe to say that he prayed extra hard that night. Graveyards are considered to be the most haunted places on the planet, and it is very understandable why this is the case. They are places riddled with dead people and always carry an eerie feeling around them, paranormal or not. In the video you are about to see, a man called Darwin was dared by his friend group in a game of truth or dare to enter a graveyard at 3 a.m. and determined to not get embarrassed in front of his crush, he decided to follow through. He wouldn't have made such a decision if he knew what was going to happen next, though.
Video completo en página Espectros
¿Qué luz
Paranormales.
quieres? Quiero que te muevas. Tiene algo escondido. Uy. Ahí tiene algo escondido. En esa parte de ahí. En esa parte de ahí tiene algo escondido, amigos. Yo ahorita lo chequé. Dime qué luz quieres. Solamente quiero saberlo. ¿Por qué quieres luz? ¿Qué es lo que te pasó? Dime qué es lo que te pasó. Ay, Dios, ay, Dios, ay, Dios, ay, Dios, ay, Dios, no manches, no manches, no manches. Lo vieron. No mames. Pon 10. Apágate. La madre, amigos, no manches. Se acaba de mover eso enfrente. Ay, no mames, amigos, lo vieron.
Strangely, the stone piece turned 90 degrees to face Darwin, and for a brief moment he sat there completely stunned. It didn't take long for him to snap out of this confusion, though, and enter flight mode, terrified of a possible follow-up to such a bizarre event. He and his friends vowed to never venture near the graveyard again, and the ironic thing is that he went on to lose that game of truth or dare around later when he got dared to kiss someone in the group who wasn't the one he liked. Life is all fun and games until reality slaps you hard in the face, and this is what happened to Luis, a Mexican male who was having the time of his life. He had been out clubbing with tons of people and had a lot of fun with the women present. He had gotten ahead of himself despite having a girlfriend at home, and his friends further encouraged him to have some fun, explaining how she wouldn't find out. He pulled up at home in his car, and what happened next was crazy, but it's going to take some explaining to link it to him cheating, so hear me out.
Ya por fin en casita. ¿Qué haces ahí? Ay, a la mierda. Está mal, güey. ¿Qué, en serio? ¿Así es la cosa? Salgan. A ver, revisen si hay alguien por ahí.
Once he arrived home, an item in the garage moved by itself towards the car, almost as if it was trying to damage it. Luis stood there confused and not knowing what to do for a few seconds, until he opened a door and let his dogs into the room. They trotted in like nothing happened and greeted their father, but little did he know that their mother wasn't with them anymore. He went into the living room and called for his girlfriend, but received no response. All he found was a letter from the ambulance team to call a number. He did. Was the spirit taking action here his girlfriend, or was it a shock coincidence? Let me know what you think in the comments. On September the 20th of 2023, Olivia, a worker at her local cafe, was the only member of staff on site. This was because they had reached their low time where the expected customer rates were at 3 per hour. This was a very easy group of customers to tackle for a singular employee. At least it was on the surface, but the customers didn't turn out to be the problem.
Guys, I'm working by my fucking self, and I hear noise in the back. What the f, bro?
Out of nowhere, Olivia heard a banging noise from the storage room, and instead of going to face it, she checked the cameras first. Surprisingly, nothing looked misplaced or out of the ordinary. It would shortly, though. For some reason, objects in the room started moving by themselves, and Olivia was left utterly speechless as to why. Because of this confusion, she contacted her coworker, called Kelsey, who was on shift the next morning to investigate the interior, staff-only sections of the cafe. She searched for a good 2 minutes to see if she could find any evidence of a human or an animal living in the facilities. This is the footage from her search.
Hi guys, this is Bernice. Jocelyn didn't come this morning to work, but she wants me to give you a tour of the back rooms and the storage. So come on, let's go. Well, this is over here is where the incident happened, which was kind of crazy because when they told me last night, I was like, what the fuck? And obviously people saw another person, but I didn't see no one, and I don't even know how a person can fit in here, you know? So yeah, it's kind of weird. As you can see, nobody can hide in here, so it would be kind of weird seeing someone in here. So let's go upstairs. That's where like we be hearing all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's kind of scary up here, honestly. I don't like it. It gives creepy vibes. And this is your room. Ay, no puedo ver. But over here, like, this is just like a place to chill. There's a bathroom. I don't know what the fuck that is. And yeah. So I think here is like where we hear most of this stuff. But I don't know. What do you guys think it might be? I don't know. I'm just new here. All I know is that when something happens to me, I'll be like, give me a raise. And like, I don't like these stairs too, cause man, like, I don't like them. Eesh. What do you guys think? What do you guys think might have happened? Ay, ay, ay. And yeah, so that's the tour. Comment if you want to see more.
Unsurprisingly, she found no one on her adventure and sent it back to Olivia for her to upload to TikTok. This wouldn't be the end of the sage, though. Once Kelsey completed her search and found no evidence, Olivia decided to raise the concern to her manager, who gave consent for a full camera check. The manager expected to find nothing and have the employees move on with their days, but something truly was caught, and everyone present was left speechless. This happened just as Kelsey left the room during her search, and they started to theorize that the ghost preferred acting when no one was present. To this day, the cafe occasionally captures weird stuff in the room, but at this point they've accepted that it is normality. Randonaut is an app used by many friend groups to go on cool adventures together. The basic concept of the app is to think of something you want to do. For example, go to the park, and it will take you to a random place nearby that satisfies that need. Clearly, these girls were in the mood for a dangerous adventure though, because where it took them was the definition of eerie.
Like they're doing a ritual. is not a game. This is when we get murdered. Dude, this is like...
The noises sounded somewhat like a demonic ritual, and the girls decided to stick around and get a TikTok out of it. Unfortunately for us, they weren't brave enough to venture into the building and turned around in fear pretty quickly. What they managed to capture that day was still pretty creepy though. Anthony, an Englishman who supports the famous club Arsenal, was home watching their recent highlights. He couldn't afford to subscribe to the channels that stream the Premier League matches, so he always had to watch the goals afterwards. Although he was adamant that after he got out of university, this would no longer be the case. He lived in a small apartment, which had served him well for just under a year. However, during recent times, he encountered some pretty strange things. From noises to things moving in the corner of his eye, he knew that something was up. The only question was what. After a bit of contemplating, Anthony decided to take out his camera and attempt to capture something weird for the world to see. Did he succeed? Well, you'll have to watch to find out.
So, excuse the mess, I'm sorting the room out, there's trash everywhere, but I've been sat here watching my Arsenal highlights for the 19,000th time. And just stuff is moving, right? So this has moved. I thought it was because maybe one of the things is stuck in the blinds, and I closed the blinds, but that was one thing. The bike then fell, and I haven't touched this bike for like 3 weeks. It's not like this is propped up against the wall. The saddle wasn't. It's always been like that, and it just kind of rolled back. And I thought, okay, maybe the pedal slipped, but again, not on the wall. Then this bag kind of twitched in the corner of my eye. I'm pretty sure it did anyway, obviously watching telly, so I wasn't paying attention. And I'm just kind of now trying, I tried to film other stuff when the bike moved, and I deleted that video because nothing happened. But I'm just, trying to see if I'm going mad and want to catch something. I've noticed things in this flat for quite a while, but I've always put them down to like neighbours' noise or whatever it might be. But this is the first time I've kind of actually seen things move. But yeah, so I don't really know. I want something to move, and I also don't want something to move. If anything is here, please, by all means, feel free to move something. Move one of the leaves here, move one of the leaves there, I don't know, whatever you want to move. Move the bike again, or the remote here. Don't be scared. Although I am a little bit scared. It's one of those horrible situations where you kind of want something. Fuck off. There is no fucking way. I'm so glad I got that on recording. I don't know, I'm coughing all of a sudden. Holy shit. Oh my god, I can't believe I actually got that on film. Please move it again. You've done that much. Please feel free to move it again. This, by the way, has been propped up here for ages. This has not been moved. This has never moved before. Fucking hell, like I'm actually shaking a little bit. Sorry for swearing, by the way. Oh my god. I'm so happy that I've just got that on tape. And like this, this isn't like attached to anything. Like there's nothing attached to it. Like I haven't kicked it, I haven't moved anything. It's been, I don't know how it was now, but it's been kind of propped up for a long time. I'm gonna lay it down a bit more. Holy shit. I fucking knew, I absolutely knew that I had a feeling, I can't even speak. I knew that something was gonna happen. I don't know why I'm suddenly coughing. I just knew something was gonna happen. Oh my fucking god. I don't know, I kind of want to keep filming. I know something's gonna happen again, I can just tell. That's the fourth thing now. But yeah, at least I'm not going insane.
After beckoning the ghost to do so, it dropped his guitar, which was the worst possible thing it could have tampered with. That guitar had been there for a long time without falling, and the fact it fell so suddenly and at such a perfect time could not have been a coincidence. There was definitely a spirit in his room, and he was fortunate that there was an empty room 1 story above to move into for the same rent. Coincidentally, as this couple were watching a spooky film featuring a doll, A doll in their house decided to stick to the theme. It was 11 p.m. on a Saturday night, and Saturday was allocated as movie night in the household belonging to the couple. The week before, the woman chose to watch a romantic film, which the man found extremely boring, and since this time around it was his choice, he decided to get his revenge and choose horror. After the following happened, though, I bet he regretted his decision dearly.
And of the Son, and the Holy Spirit, by this sign of the Holy Cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, who lives and reigns with the Father and the Holy Spirit. Damien!
It's not even scary.
It is scary.
It's not.
You killed your mother!
You killed your mother! You killed your mother! You killed...
Coincidentally, as the doll was being creepy on screen, the one behind the woman moved. At first, it left the man speechless, but the second time was enough to make even him, who didn't fear most, get up and scream. They brought the doll to the tip that same night. On December 26th of 2023, Isaiah, a middle-aged man, was left home alone for the night. His girlfriend, called Caroline, was out with some of her friends all evening and left Isaiah in charge of the house, which she admitted wasn't the smartest decision of her life. Her boyfriend was about as responsible as a toddler, and all she could do was pray that he wouldn't do anything stupid. Little did she know, though, that he would turn out to be the last of her worries, because just a few hours after leaving the house, this happened to Isaiah. For some strange reason, the door closed behind him once he entered the guest bedroom, followed by a banging sound from across the corridor. Out of pure fear, Isaiah ran back into his bedroom and locked the door behind him to prevent any unwanted entities from following him. Nothing else occurred that night, and he was too afraid to let his girlfriend know in case she blamed it on him and overreacted. The following video took place in a Russian household and featured a family taking some time to simply relax in their living room. They were watching some television together and discussing what board game they were going to play afterwards, with the group consensus leading to charades. But little did they know that they wouldn't even get to that stage before some weird stuff started happening. Immediately after these events, the family concluded that it must have been their grandma who was rushed to hospital after having a heart attack in the same house they were in. Unfortunately, she did not survive, and her loved ones had only recently come to terms with that fact. At least they knew now that she was still with them spiritually. The next day, most of the family had departed back to their own homes after the huge get-together, leaving the 5 who lived there and the grandfather of the family. It was roughly 3 p.m. when the boys were dismissed from the living room by their parents after keeping their grandfather company for a few hours. In their room, they sat down slandering their parents for not letting them do what they wanted earlier, and their grandmother clearly wasn't a fan of their words because she struck again, and this time she was just as prominent.
Бля, короче, ребята, нахуй, вызвали, блядь, демона. Кот, нахуй, под столом, блядь. Творится полная херня. Ёпта, бля.
Вот, блядь, дверь, сука, открылась только что, нахуй.
Бля!
Ёбаный в рот. Ебать, сука.
Нахуй, Герман, блядь, что происходит вообще?
Пиздец, я чё, ебу, что ли? Нахуй, сука.
Ёбаный,
бля. Пиздец, нахуй, сука.
Бля, Герман, нахуй. Бля. Короче, ребята, все, прощаемся, бля, творится полный пиздейшн, нахуй, бежим.
Somehow, several objects started to fall from countless shelves, and the two boys were in pure disbelief as to what to do. They sat there shouting curse words and calling the creature who caused this a demon, completely unaware of the likelihood that it was their grandmother, which the rest of the family pointed out earlier. After this bizarre incident, the boys sprinted downstairs and informed their father of what happened, and he believed them instantly considering what unfolded the day before. The mother offered the grandfather a lift home as he was terrified after hearing that things were continuing, and he accepted the offer. They both left the house, leaving the two boys and the father. He told them both to go to the guest room and avoid theirs whilst he cooked some dinner, so his wife had it ready when she arrived home. Even this didn't sneak by without a paranormal event, though.
Сейчас пытаюсь понять, что происходит, но какие-то аномальные явления непонятные, что у меня со стола падает всякая хрень, и вот сейчас на кухне пытаюсь поставить телефон. Оба-на! Заебись! Удачный момент.
Out of nowhere, the glass on the tabletop fell to the floor without shattering or even being damaged one bit. This was very odd, because the odds of a glass surviving a drop that high are very slim, so perhaps the ghost perfectly cushioned its fall. We'll never know. All we do know is that this has been the last publicly shared ghost encounter from the family for 6 months now, and we have no idea if they'll post another. You bet that if they do, though, I will be the first person to let you all know, so make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Ashraf, a young ghost hunter new to the business, had been hired out by a company who were planning on renovating an old and abandoned hospital. The CEO of the company had their suspicions that the building had some sort of haunted entity inside it, but wasn't quite sure what. This is why they contacted Ashraf's business to do the trick, and they chose him for his first rodeo. It went well. I'll let you decide for yourself.
Nos íbamos a ir y se escuchó un peligro. ¿Se escucha? Es un bebé. ¿Hay alguien?
Strangely, the sound of a baby crying could be heard, and this was very unsettling for Ash. He expected to be recording moving objects and things of the sort, but hearing a child cry, his eyes out definitely didn't float his boat. He reported back to his boss, showing the footage of the sound, and he got scolded for not going further into the facility for some more. He received a pay cut, but did not get fired. He is now contemplating seeking work elsewhere, though. He still wants to give the ghost gig a few extra tries first. Home security became a bid craze a while back because house robberies were becoming more common day by day. From alarms to cameras, all the way to smoke systems, people were swarming to protect their houses, and the upcoming video was captured during this craze. The people who owned the house had recently added 4 cameras to their interior, as well as a zero vision in 10 seconds smoke system, which would trigger if a break-in happened whilst they were not home. Fortunately, in the years they have had these devices, they have never had to be used, at least not for burglaries. Somehow, a bunch of items started moving around the kitchen, not to mention the door supposedly moving off camera. The family claimed they could hear the banging faintly. With all the commotion, the smoke system actually activated, and it took them a good 2 hours to clear the room of it. The owner explained that it felt like being in a James Bond movie, cool, yet terrifying. A fact that I am constantly reinstating across my videos is that spirits love to possess dolls, and it still holds just as much truth. It is unknown why they enjoy taking control of these children's toys, but when they do, there is nothing more twisted and demented on the planet. Perhaps this is why. Regardless of what the answer to that question is, though, the upcoming clip captured another piece of evidence that dolls are frequently the toys of the paranormal, and it has a very eerie feeling to it. Have a watch.
Ma, ese muñeco acaba de sonar solo y se está moviendo solo. ¡Movete, sapo perro! Ma. Mamá. Mamá. Se lo juro que yo no he activado nada. Mamá. Uy, quieto.
Strangely, the doll started to move without any human interaction and continued to do so even after the man pulled his mobile device out. It moved about for around 30 seconds in total, which was more than long enough to freak the man behind the camera out. He knew one thing for certain: his daughter was never touching that thing again. Tim Morozov, a decently sized YouTuber amassing a respectable 600,000 subscribers, is known for posting his ghostly adventures to his audience. From old hospitals to abandoned houses, it seems that Tim hasn't obtained the genes to feel fear, and the YouTube video you are about to see some clips from definitely promotes his features of bravery and boldness. It was 1 a.m. when he decided to explore an abandoned house for his fans to see if anything haunted would happen. Surprisingly, the house he selected for this video wasn't known to be haunted and was only abandoned due to how poorly built it was. Needn't anyone worry though, because Tim was about to prove that the former was true.
За шум. Там, по-моему, только одна вешалка была. Что сейчас за порыв энергии был такой?
When he reached this particular room, Tim explained that he felt the cold flooding his bloodstream, and it was one of the strongest feelings of paranormal presence he had ever felt. It was enough to make his hands visibly tremble, and he did not want to continue onwards. However, doing it for the fans, he approached the closet, and a carpet-like item came bursting out of it before flying around the entire house. Understandably, Tim had no clue what this was and ran around the house trying to track it. Eventually, it came to a standstill and he discovered it was a rug. This still didn't explain why it flew everywhere, and it is likely that such an answer will never be found. Jack knew that his house was haunted. He just had that feeling about it, not to mention the fact that he would put an item somewhere and the next day it would be in a totally different room. He had spent days trying to prove his point to his wife that the house was far beyond return, but no matter what he explained to her, she would not believe him. He knew what he needed to get her on his side: concrete evidence. His mission was to go into his son's room and try to videotape as much activity as humanly possible. Why he chose his son's room, I don't know, but I won't question this decision because it did wonders. Whilst he was standing there, the drawer somehow took it upon itself to open, and this stumped the poor bloke. He tried to stay silent in case he disturbed, or even worse, fed the ghost with his fear, and in fairness, this method did work. Nothing too dangerous happened, and the only other event was that the curtains were waving very unnaturally. He showed this footage to his wife of 10 years, who word for word told him to stick his evidence in the trash, and that he obviously made all of this happen. Who do you think was right in this situation? Let me know in the comments. Roland With Me is a YouTube channel that we have discussed many times in my videos, and his paranormal footage never fails to disappoint. He is full-time in the spiritual industry and hoes all across the states, trying to discover all sorts of entities. It's no surprise that he carried most of them back to his beautiful house in the south, which in result has been haunted for 3 years. The upcoming clip was recorded within his 4 walls, and one of the main comments I get when I feature Roland is that he clearly isn't scared, so his content must be fake. This man has been through a ton of spiritual sightings, so it takes a ton to strike fear into him. Keep that in mind.
What in the hell? Alright. That drawer and that cabinet door, those were not open.
Alright, who opened this? Is there a spirit here that left this cabinet door open? Can you please... Oh, look, there it goes, it's shut. Alright. Apparently, somebody just shut that cabinet. You left the drawer open. Can you please shut the drawer? You left it open right there. Please shut the drawer. You still left the drawer open. Can you please shut the drawer? And stop opening things in here. Up, there it goes. All right. I see you close the drawer in the cabinets.
What the hell? I just heard something. Something was coming from the ceiling.
Is there a spirit in here that just did something in the ceiling?
Something up in there. That ceiling there. What the hell?
I know there's no way anybody could fit in there, right? There's no way anybody can hide in there.
As weird as this may have been, the spirit listened to Roland, which was a very rare occurrence, especially house ghosts. They tend to cause as much havoc as possible and wouldn't listen for their life back. This case was different, and he had no idea why, despite being a top-tier expert on the matter. He uploaded this footage to his YouTube, along with a saga of other captures, all in one video. His comment section were just as confused, let alone his devoted subscribers. The father of this girl had tragically passed away, trying to save people from a fire, and the town commemorated him well. He was just a regular firefighter. He got paid regular wages, and he lived a regular life. It was very unfortunate to see him pass away so young. As a gift from the father's wife to their daughter, she gave her a stuffed teddy bear, wearing the same clothes her father used to call his favorite outfit. As the icing on the cake, she also got the man to speak into the bear so that when cuddled, it would play his message. It made both of them cry every time it triggered, and it truly was a heartwarming gift. However, even the most blessed items can descend to paranormal activity, and the clip you are about to witness is one of these moments. While not negative, it was definitely enough to spook the girl. Have a watch.
I just missed a call from my dad. He's been gone. Like, I just heard his voice one more time.
I don't know whether this was fortunate or unfortunate for the girl, because this moment had both its positives and negatives. On the positive side, she was given reassurance that her father was safe and in heaven, but on the flip side, this must have set her back a good week on recovering from her loss. It also stopped her from sleeping for the entire night, which is never a good thing. The next day, she had a brilliant day though, which you can't complain about. The same cannot be said about the evening though, because the spirit made a second appearance and the girl started to have second thoughts on whether or not it was actually her father. Strangely, the doors started to open and close like we have seen many spirits do, but the girl claimed that she felt a sort of dark feeling in the room. This feeling made her adamant that she was encountering an evil spirit, rather than that of her father, but I guess we will never be too sure. On November 12th of last year, a family were gathering in their parents' bedroom for a lecture on eating the food too quickly when something very strange happened. You see, the family owned a cat, but it was on the bed with them at the time of the gathering, so whatever they were about to see could not have belonged to them. With that knowledge in mind, this upcoming piece of footage becomes very odd.
Bruja real se convierte en gato.
Hay algo allá atrás, afuera, que estamos viéndolo. ¿Quién eres? Tú no eres un gato.
¿Qué pasó?
¡Ay, qué es eso! Vete de aquí, ¿quién eres? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Quién eres? Te estoy grabando, ¿quién eres? ¿Por qué estás aquí en mi casa? Tú no eres un gato. Tú no eres un gato. Te ordeno que te vayas de mi casa. ¡Ay! No manches, no manches. ¿Qué es eso, Virginia? Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. Se abrió la puerta. ¡Ay, güey! Se me abrió la puerta. Vámonos, 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 vámonos.
Experts believe that this cat was a skinwalker, and this made sense considering the fact it somehow understood what the humans were saying. They continuously questioned the cat, and it almost spoke back to them, like it knew what they were saying. When they went to get a closer look, it ran and jumped out of the window, vanishing in the air.